Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Shootout Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Baxter, and today is episode 34 of the series. Today we've got an incredible guest for you, and we've actually got our first texture artist on the show. We've got Kyle Horwood. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much for coming on. I'm really looking forward to the chat. Thanks for doing this.
No problem. It's good to be on.
Awesome. As always, everyone who's tuning in, the Shootout Podcast is a weekly series where I bring on guests from all creative backgrounds, from concept artists to 3D environment artists, etc. You name it, the podcast pretty much covers it. The podcast is live every week on 9 other platforms alongside YouTube. We are live on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and last but not least, we've got Stitcher. Not only is Kyle a texture artist, he's also the co-founder of Cloud Colony, which is based in Scotland. And before we get into the podcast, all 1,700 of you, make sure to take advantage of Kyle's work. He's an awesome artist, incredible texture artist. I'll show you all his social media right now. So all of you, make sure to go give him a follow, and make sure to check out Cloud Colony. It's a new... well, we can actually go in depth about it if you want as well, Kyle. That'd be really cool to cover.
What was that, sorry?
It'd be really cool to cover Cloud Colony.
Yeah, we can talk a bit about that if you've got any questions. And shoot
Awesome.
Over.
So let's just get straight into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
So as always, man, just start off with introductions. Just tell us a wee bit about yourself, what you do, etc.
Okay, so I'm Kyle, as Ross said several times now. I'm a freelance material artist at the moment, and co-founder of a Cloud Colony, which I'm trying to start up with my partner and a friend. And yeah, I've worked on games such as Tom Clancy's Division 2 and Marvel Spider-Man on PS4, which is a great game.
It certainly is. Awesome. No, that's super cool, man. So as always, man, when it comes to the podcast is based around obviously you, and then your journey and your thoughts on student education.
Okay.
But it'd be really cool as well just to go into topics as well about texture art as well, and what you learnt through your experience, the ups and downs and so forth.
Yeah.
Awesome. So as always, man, I'll start off with a question about university. So, what do you wish you learned while studying at university? Was anything stand out to you?
It's quite a tough one because I feel like I kind of did the right thing, especially because I did my degree in Derby University, which was computer games modeling and animation, which was a great course. The art there is quite high as well, and learned quite a lot in that. It was varied from animation, so you got to learn a bit about mocap. We did textures, and then we did 3D modeling and environments in real time. And then at the end, there was a group project where you would team up with the programmer course to make a game. And so that was a really good experience. And then the masters that I did in Abertay University, there was a choice during that, and I chose things like learning technical art.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a technical art thing, which was learning Python, which was really useful, and I really can't remember what else I did. I just remember that one sticking out for me.
No, that's awesome. No, that's super cool. So, when was it that you transitioned into texture art, or when did that become a thing?
Well, back in my undergrad degree, for my dissertation, I kind of wanted to do the texturing thing, but I was kind of already starting to do a paper on interactive storytelling in video games. And I went to my lecturer and was like, maybe I'll do something on textures as well. And he was like, kind of doesn't fit with what they want, that what I'm doing is probably better off what I am doing.
Okay.
which I'm kind of glad I did, because I did like a 20-minute like game. It takes 20 minutes to play through. Sorry, and it was like it's pretty much just a walking simulator, and I really put my heart into that, and it came out really, really well, and I was pretty chuffed with it. So
I remember your one was it was like the the hill sort of grass foliage scene. Is that the right one? I'm trying to remember. What was that environment again? I'm trying to remember.
It was just a sci-fi space station.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But then in my masters, we had a professional specialization, and I thought, okay, this time I'll do textures.
Mm-hmm.
I got in contact with Josh Lynch and Rogelio Olgin. I think that's his last name. I'm probably really ruining his name.
It's all right, man. It's cool.
And I think it was someone else, and so I used them as like to get my feedback. But like Josh was great because he basically mentored me through it.
Yeah.
And this was way before he was doing all his mentorships he does now, and it was a great learning experience, and it really helped me elevate my craft. And yeah, I just became a lot like comfortable with doing it. But then I did an art test for Ubisoft Annecy, and then they were like, no.
All right,
it wasn't that great.
They rejected it. All right, okay.
Yeah, but it was quite funny because like a year after, they were like, "Hey, do you want to apply for the studio?" And I was like, "But you said no last year." They were like, "Yeah, but you're better now."
Awesome. No, that's the crazy thing as well, because like you never know what to expect. Like things change all the time, and the fact that that's so awesome. I remember you saying the first time we talked that you got taught by Josh Lynch. Like out of all the people in the world to get taught by when it comes to texture art, that's the guy you want to be taught by. Yeah,
definitely. He's a beast.
Like it's just like the stuff he does in Designer. I'm just like I'm still, I'm afraid I've still not used Substance Designer. I've just been using Painter, but like I really need to start going into it, because obviously like my main thing is environment art, and I just really need to start giving it a go, because I know like it's not become industry standard just yet. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that, but I think it's because obviously everyone's still using Painter, but the power of Designer is just insane.
Yeah, I think that's debatable.
No, everyone has their opinion. Like I understand. Like everyone, like a lot of people are using it. Like, do you think it's industry standard?
I think it's becoming industry standard. Yes, because like I was looking at some other jobs yesterday, because of ArtStation, where you get the daily emails of new jobs, and a lot of the times when I'm scrolling through the 3D art jobs, it's like must have an understanding of 3D. No, not 3D. Substance Designer and Substance Painter.
Okay, awesome.
So I think it's definitely becoming a norm.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps learning those to make yourself stand out as an artist. Definitely.
Exactly. Because like speaking and bringing into the conversation like the whole idea of student education, it would be great if like I'm not sure how many universities are doing it right now, but it'd be great. Like for example, when I asked the question about like what do you wish you were studying at university, like when I was studying at university, it was obviously we had Substance Painter, but I don't recall anyone ever like bringing into discussion Designer, and it'd be great if they started teaching that. I'm not sure what your thoughts are. Like obviously you were saying earlier about like obviously education for you was really good. Like you learnt a lot. Was there anything technical wise that maybe you think alongside maybe Designer or something else that you think could have benefited you if you did it early on?
Maybe not technical wise, because when I was doing my walking simulator games, I learned a lot about it was visual scripting, but I was still dabbling around with Python and C#, so I got quite a technical understanding during those. And I've done like a couple of shaders in the background. Again, that was just using Unreal, so it's not like any program in HSL or HLSL. So basically, maybe not technical wise, but I never really did art theory in school or anything, and I kind of wish I did because it would be great if I could just like I've done some drawing, but it would be nice to have a better understanding of color and light and such like that. That's the type of stuff that I had to learn in my own time.
Right. So like all the sort of the smaller side of things when it comes to like branching out of texture art, basically.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because I think it's so I mention this quite a lot on the podcast. So there's so many artists out there that obviously, like for example, take Substance Painter for example. Like they import their models into Substance and they're like, right, this software is really powerful. Let's just try and, I don't know, make generators super quick. But none of them really understand like what they're doing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like they'll put I don't know, like edge wear on an area that maybe doesn't make sense, or like they'll add rust and stuff, and there's not like an understanding there. So like that theory side of things that you're talking about, it's so crucial.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can get away with learning that stuff whilst you're doing it anyway, as long as you kind of make sure you're learning it around everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It should be fine.
What's your when it comes to like texture art and stuff, based on your own experience, what have you noticed to be, I guess, like the hardest thing, I guess, to be a texture artist? Have you noticed anything that was like a real challenge for you?
Probably, I'd say like getting color maps right is quite a tough one. Because I see a lot of students when they do materials and such, they put in too much noise, which is really unnecessary.
Right.
I still kind of do that, but it depends exactly on the material.
Yeah.
But I like a recent job I had, I put a bit too much noise into a texture, and they were like, "Okay, can you just reduce it down a little bit?" And it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like it's the smaller things, because like I'll admit I was a culprit as well in one of my pieces, or quite a few of my pieces. Like I'm not sure if I talked to you in the past about my chair, but one of the common things I did, even though it wasn't a texture, well, I don't know. So like in ZBrush, you have like the ability to add noise, and the one habit I always tended to have was to overuse noise, because just naturally I had in my head that it was this extra detail that was like really cool, but I didn't understand like the level of like intensity I had to go at, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you definitely need to have it make sense, because it's like you can go crazy with anything. It's like maybe in your gloss map you have drips, and it's like, okay, are the drips there for a reason? Why? If it's a brick wall, maybe they would have some. But if it's like, say, a ground texture and you got like drips streaming down, it doesn't make as much sense. I think a lot of people fall short on adding, well, not fall short, they definitely add a bit too much sometimes, and a lot of the textures are quite noisy to look at. I think a lot of people as well, for some reason, make their textures in like 4K to 8K, which is really
that's a good point. Yeah, that's an insane topic you can talk about. It's like I guess like the whole idea of efficiency, but they just naturally think it's like 4K means instant detail, or like they're just, I don't know, they just
well, it's going to look good.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it's like on my portfolio, none of my materials are over 2K. They're all 2K.
Right.
There's probably the occasional one that's at 1K.
Yeah.
Because my computer at the moment is garbage. It is very, very slow. I opened up a 4K material recently, and my computer just would not work.
Wouldn't handle it at all. Just crashing, just like breaking down.
Lucky enough, I'm getting a new computer, but yeah, I try and stick with 2K because I find that you can get away with it. And normally, in games at the moment, it's still very rare that you find anything that's about 4K.
Yeah, that's scary as well, because like I don't even remember if I've ever been able to even like do you, when you're in Substance Painter and you can change it to like work as 2K or 4K.
Yeah.
When I work as 4K, my computer just can't even handle it at all either, and it's just like, yep, just go back to 2K. Keep it simple.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, what's your thoughts on, like, obviously carrying on that subject of portfolio? Has there been any main things that you realize was essential to kind of show as a texture artist? Like, what was the main thing, I guess, that kind of helped you out? Does anything kind of stand out?
I think it's just making sure you push your materials to have that realism, because one of the, I think it was like a stone wall material I did, kind of really picked up for me and helped me get quite a bit of work.
Right.
Because I've pushed it to that realism. I think you really need to show that your ability to be able to do something realistic and not go overboard. And learning about lighting as well is really great help, because you can make a really good material, but it looks rubbish because of your rendering is not that great.
Okay.
Which I still struggle with to this day. I take ages trying to get a good lighting or rendering.
Yeah.
But I think it's a tough one, because a lot of people, when I was starting out, were like, okay, if you want to be a texture artist, you need to have environments in your portfolio. And the past material artist jobs I've got, I've not had any environment art in my portfolio.
Yeah.
But I do understand why you should have it. You got to have the technical understanding of why a texture is its size. Let's say you want to look at things like texel density and how things look in a game engine, rather than just using the lovely shadables that everyone uses.
No, but on you go.
I think as a student, probably get at least 1 or 2 environments, but I don't think it's mandatory because of how AAA is going.
Yeah.
It's so specialized that if you just focus on making your textures look good, then you will get noticed.
You will be sorted.
Yeah.
Like it's the thing about like you said there, like you nailed it there when it comes to like obviously the whole idea of specializing, because everyone who's listening, like at the end of the day, like for example, make sure to check out Kyle's portfolio. His portfolio is an incredible example of how to approach things. He also shows breakdowns as well, and like layout is super key. And like for example, what he said there about lighting. I'm not sure how you render things, but like one of my favorite pieces from you, I think it's just because I'm obsessed with Uncharted, but like your gold coin one.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
That is so badass. That is so cool. I have no idea how you approach that, but it'd be really cool. Like if you want to, it'd be actually like awesome to hear about. Like I know you said about how like difficult lighting is, but like how do you render your materials? Like how do you approach that?
I render all my materials in Mumset.
Alright, okay.
Because it's just super efficient to use. You can just shove in a flat plane or something, use some tessellation, shove in a couple of lights, bam, you got your lovely render. But obviously you need to do a lot more than just bam, that's there. The great thing is that when you've got a really decent lighting setup, you just save that file and then you've got the exact same thing. Because my portfolio recently, I updated, I think a year ago, and then I gave all my thumbnails a different, I updated it with the new thing so everything looked more consistent. But if you check my portfolio again, there's a couple of thumbnails which actually have darker backgrounds because again I've redone the lighting. So that's I can't be asked to go through all my thumbnails though and redo that because I only did it not long ago.
Oh, I understand you when it comes to thumbnails. So when it comes to this podcast, like do you like everything on YouTube is thumbnail and title orientated?
Yeah.
So I had to, so I was like, right, my thumbnails kind of suck. So I was like, I had to go through like, I'm still going through like 4 so there's about so far 34 episodes of the podcast, and I'm just like, here we go again. It's gonna be like it takes so long just to get them right.
Yeah.
But it's crazy though. Is that like it's become a common occurrence on the podcast in which every guest has said the like how important presentation is, and obviously like presentation at the end of the day is like the end all, or like what's the phrase? End all, break all sort of thing. You know what I mean? that phrase.
Yeah.
But like that's why I said when it comes to like thumbnails, you have to keep it clean. Like another great one I heard earlier was the description. Like, what's your thoughts on like the description and like the title? Do you think that's important?
I think you just need to make your thumbnails stick out, because especially on ArtStation, when people go on the website, that's the first thing they're going to see. And if it's a dark looking thing, nothing stands out, or there's not great composition, a lot of the time people aren't going to click it. So that's why you kind of want it to stick out. And I know people complain about shader boards, but half the time when you are scrolling through ArtStation, it's just a bunch of images, and then when you just see a round ball with a texture on, your eyes just quickly drawn to it.
Yeah.
So it's quite easy to get noticed that way. But like, I've got some thumbnails which are from video games, which got a couple of more follows from that. Not that that stuff really matters to me.
Well,
anyway, but I think like description wise, I don't really do anything fancy. The title is exactly what the material is, and then the description just like, hey, I did this, made Substance Designer.
Yeah, like that is like the great thing about using the spheres is that, like, personally to me, the main thing is it's just simple and clean, and that's what everyone's kind of looking for, because it gives that professional aesthetic overall. And like you said, at the end of the day, it's about drawing people's attention and making sure that they click it, because if they don't click it, they're not going to see the progress or just your art in general.
Yeah, sure.
Well, like, carrying on, like, the subject of texturing, obviously, like, the main topic is obviously I like to talk about student education and stuff. What was the, like, obviously it's a wee bit different, but what was the, like, benefits of going to university for you? Like, what were the main things that kind of stood out for you?
It's tough because it's like education, and especially university and stuff, it's like a double-edged sword. You got your pros and cons, definitely. There are some artists out there that have not gone to university and just self-taught, and their work is astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
I think because of the way the game industry is, and there's never really that much job security, if you want to be able to move about different countries and such, I think university is key for that, because university helps with points on a visa.
Mm-hmm.
So say you want to go to Canada or America or whatnot, doing a university degree kind of helps give you more of a chance to move over to another country to go work.
Yeah.
And, so you got that, which I think is really... I mean, I went to university mostly because of that reason, is to have points for a visa so I can move abroad. Awesome. And work other countries. Because I think... I don't like saying this because I know a couple of people get a bit arsy about it, but I honestly think that university courses are quite old-fashioned in the aspect of the people that are most likely going to be teaching you are people who worked in the PS2 eras and such. So it's not very much new ways of doing it, because the industry's changing constantly. There's always new software, and like some universities still aren't doing Substance Designer, even though it's becoming like a norm to use, especially Substance Painter.
Yeah.
And so I think if you go to university, it's great. You get points for your visa, but I think it's really mandatory that you do work outside of university and do self-taught, like look at online courses, learn from people, find out who your favorite artist is, and then approach them and be like, hey, I've got this piece of work, can I get some feedback from you? Because that's what I did at the start. I went to people like Josh, Rahilio, bunch of other people, and I was like, hey, this is what I've made. Can you give me some feedback? And it seems scary, especially getting feedback. You got to have a thick skin. They're going to rip it apart and tell you what you should be doing, but that is key. You become a better artist from that. There's never a reason you should be like, nah, this guy's good, but he don't know what he's talking about. So it's really key to talk with other artists, get feedback, do stuff outside of university to push yourself and make yourself stand out a lot more. Because I noticed that in university, statistically, from what I've seen, is the artists that did the university courses and were like, okay, I just need to do what I'm being taught in this course, and I don't need to do anything outside. They tend to be the type of people now who are in jobs that aren't related to games, unfortunately.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, and then the people that do like the university course and go home and then do their own stuff or learn to elevate their craft and become more good at everything else, is they're the type of people that get picked up quickly. Oh, my phone's going off. Sorry about that.
It's alright. It's okay.
So they're the type of people who are going to be picked up, and it's like, okay, you are doing so much. Snap, we're going to take you. So I think it's important to do more. But obviously, as a junior, a lot of people think, oh, if I do more, that means when I get into a game company for my first year, I need to do the exact same thing. No, do not do that. I think it's really important that when you're in a game company, and even in university, I'm saying do more, but you also need to make sure that you're exercising. You need to make sure that you are going out with friends and socializing, because your mental health is extremely important. Because when I finished university and did my masters, I was constantly working. I was doing art tests, and by the time I finished my course, I had to spend a month not doing anything because I got burnt out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very good. And so it took me a good month to get back into everything. And then, lucky enough, I started getting some freelance work coming in. And I'd say I got burnt out again not long ago. I think that was one of the things that was kind of running me down. It's one of the reasons why I left my last job, is because...
Yeah. I remember you telling me about it.
Yeah, nothing really was exciting me, so I felt really burnt out. So it's good to look after yourself. But obviously, if you're in university, try and push yourself when you're out of your classes, do that little bit extra. But like, you could do like your Monday to Fridays, do like a full day of university work and your own stuff, and then just spend like an hour in the evening doing reading or your own type of hobby. Then the weekend, do some of your learning of yourself but again, go out, do a bit of shopping, play some games. That's always a good way to get inspired. So yeah, definitely important to push yourself, but also look after yourself.
Awesome. No, I'm really happy you mentioned that. Like you meant three really killer points there, and like the first one, for example, is actually the traveling aspect. Like that's the first time I've ever heard that one on the podcast, and that's a great one. Something fresh, something new. So, for example, like it actually be really cool. Like for example, to talk about when it comes to obviously pursuing a career, everyone who's listening. Sometimes it's really good to just look outside the box. It doesn't always have to be inside your own country, because you never know what opportunities could rise. And for example, Kyle, he's worked on like multiple places around. And like for example, he went to France and worked at Ubisoft, and like that's such an amazing opportunity to take advantage of. And like he said, like for example, going to university, like that is the advantage, like he was saying, and it's those visa things that are a big discussion. Like for example, like one of my dreams, man, is like everyone always hears it on the podcast, but is to go to New Zealand, and I got in touch with Weta, and basically they were saying that like I kind of needed to have that to help with the visa and stuff.
Yeah,
it goes such a long way. And then obviously the most important point that you just brought up there is mental health. Like so many people, like I was the exact same as you. Like so many people, like they push and push, and they keep working, but they lose sight of the important parts. And like you're saying, like your exercise, your food, like your diet overall, like it's so crucial to keep that motivation running. And like you said, like you needed the month off. So like everyone who's listening, this is a common trend that's been brought up. So make sure to take your time, really think about things, and just most importantly have fun. Like you should be enjoying things, and like that's why I kind of felt like the only thing that was kind of a pet peeve for me at university was like I've never liked the idea of having grades. Grades to me personally, like I understand it helps give you a target, but when people keep bringing up the fact that it means nothing in the industry, then I don't know. Like I'm not sure what your thoughts are on the whole idea of grades, but grades to me was it's what caused me to stress out.
Yeah, I think it's different in some universities because my undergrad, if you were getting a high grade, it's because you were pushing yourself as an artist. You were not just doing what they told you to do. You were basically, say, there was this course called Real-Time Environments, and for my environment, I had like ships flying over the map that we did. I had holograms and like things moving in the game, and it just made it stand out a bit more. So I managed to get a first for that.
Oh, nice
and,
one.
Like my interactive storytelling dissertation, I managed to get a first for that because it was like a 20-minute gameplay footage, and I did the correct research. So, but when I went to Abate, now this is the hard part. You got to try not slag off a university, but I found there it was quite favoritized to some other people, and I was doing what I normally do, pushing myself and stuff, and the lecturer was pretty much like, yeah, you're not going to get anywhere with this.
Right, okay.
And it's like, what?
I won't ask who, but
yeah.
I'm really surprised about that, she was.
Yeah, so it was quite disheartening. I think that's one of the reasons why I took a month out, because I was like really just upset. The same thing with my partner. She does a lot of stylized like art, and he was like, "Yeah, you stylized is going to get you nowhere. You need to do realism," which is hilarious because some great artists out there who do stylized. I think there's a person called Lolish. She did. She managed to actually do something for Horizon Zero Dawn.
Awesome.
And obviously that's a realistic looking game, yet she did like a stylized character for them. They loved it. And this girl called I can't even pronounce her name. Let me quickly grab it. But she used to work at Naughty Dog.
Okay.
It's like Alex.
Ooh, I'm trying to think now.
Alexandria Neon.
Right,
Actress. Okay. Her Twitter's at Beads, and her stuff's quite stylized. And I remember scrolling through, and she was like, "Oh, university. They said I would never get into the industry because of my stylized work." And she's working now as a character concept artist at Naughty Dog. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like you've really got to believe in yourself and just do what you need to do, because a lot of people try and push you and turn you away from doing things, but if you feel like you can do it and prove them wrong.
Exactly. No, it's so important. Like no matter what it is, whatever career it is, like even if you're just tuning in and you're happy to listen to this podcast and you're not an artist, like say you're pursuing a career in sport, then you just have to keep going. Like who cares? It doesn't even matter if it's family that's putting you down or whatever. You just have to keep working at it. Like for example, with me, I've waited 9 years to hear back from my dream job. I can't tell anyone yet about it, but I've got good news coming soon, and it's just down to about being patient and trusting in being patient and stuff, and working hard. And like that's the thing. Like style is very important, but it also depends. So like you're not required to have a style. However, having a style, if that's what you're passionate about, go for it. Like that's awesome to do. Like do you know the one thing I absolutely love, man, is like, do you know when you see I'm not good at it, but do you know when you see, for example, what do you call it? Like stylized artists who are like similar kind of like the Blizzard look.
Yeah.
Like there's hopefully a few guests coming on the podcast soon who do like that sort of style, and I'm like, how on earth do they do that? Like it's so clean, crisp, and like just like colors are amazing. Like, oh, it's so awesome.
Yeah, it's so nice. I think a lot of those artists have quite a traditional background in art as well, which is why they have that understanding of light and forms and shapes and such.
Yeah.
But I would say, even myself, I look at my work and I don't think it's really realistic. I'd say it's half and half, like that's semi-realism.
Yeah.
I feel like when I look at other people's work, I'm like, yeah, that's realistic. That's dope. And I look at my work and it's like, I don't know, there's something about it that just feels like it's kind of stylized and real.
Yeah.
But it feels like I have my own style. And then you look at Josh, you can tell that's his work because he has his own style. Everyone has their own style. It's just sticking with it.
Yeah.
And not letting people dishearten you. Like, just believe in yourself and you can do it.
keep working at, keep chasing the dream, keep going after your craft. Like, so
I don't know if that was answering the question that I was trying to answer.
I have no idea.
Going way off tangent.
What even was the question? I don't remember.
Me neither.
I just go with the flow. You know me.
Yeah.
So, as always, man, on the podcast, the one thing I like to talk about is like online courses or online resources and like the teaching side of things. When it came to learning texturing for you, was there, like, obviously you got help from like Josh Lynch and like asking people around, but was there any sort of maybe like tutorials or anything on the side that helped you get better?
I remember Rogelio, when he was working at Naughty Dog, he did a Gnomon school video tutorial on Substance Designer, which was great. Mm-hmm. And I think he actually did some stuff on Vimeo as well when he was really starting to pick up on it, and Josh did the occasional tutorials. And then when I started doing it more, Substance Designer, I noticed that people started doing like substance challenges in Polycount, so I joined that for a while and did a couple of those. I learned from my friend and mentor as well, Karen Stanley. She taught me a lot as well. And then I stumbled across a Discord called the Dynasty Empire.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, I talk a lot about those guys. I highly recommend, especially if you're a student or even an industry professional, join the Discord because it's a great learning experience. Everyone there is so friendly and always sharing workflows and tips, and I've learned quite a bit from them. And like, you just go on there every single day, someone's asking for feedback and people are giving it. It's brilliant, and it's lovely to see, because you used to see it a lot more on Polycount, but it just feels like that website's kind of died a little.
Yeah, it's slowed down a bit.
Yeah, because I used to do, when the substance challenges stopped, I then started them up while I was doing my freelance, and then a little bit while I was working at Ubisoft, but because my time just got taken away, I could not do it anymore.
Yeah.
So it's, and in Jeremy's Discord, the Dynasty Empire Discord, we're doing challenges in there as well. There's prop challenges, hard surface challenges, there's a substance challenge as well. So I think those type of things are really cool to do because it just elevates your craft. You become better because you get feedback, and it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. It's
like, even though I've been doing material artists for a couple of years now, when I give my material to someone and they're like, oh, you should do this, and I'm like, oh yeah.
That's the fun part. That's what, like, the experiment side of things. Because the crazy thing, like the topic that we're discussing just now, folks, like the Dynasty Empire. So the first time, it was Kyle that got me into the chat. I've not used it in a while. I've just been so busy with so many different things. But oh my gosh, the first time I posted in there, I was bombarded with feedback, and like getting feedback, like not only instantly, but like great feedback from like incredible artists. It's such a blessing, and you got to take advantage of that. And obviously the main thing for like obviously the podcast, I always share everything. So what I'll do is any links that like Kyle's brought up, I'll include it in the description below. And also the same for Kyle's artwork. Make sure to check the links to go see his work. And as always, it's always showcased once again on the background. As always, man, one of the main questions I like to bring up when it comes to the podcast is I like to vary things up and just try and see what like the guest brings up, basically. So when it comes to just everything, this is the big question. Like, does anything stand out to you that's helped you with your career or texturing? Like, anything random that you'd like to bring up? Does anything kind of come to mind that was like a go-to, or anything that was helpful for you as an artist?
It's a tough question.
It's a big one, isn't it?
It is.
Put you on the spot.
Well, quickly going back to the recommended online courses, I also recommend like looking at people's Gumroads, ArtStation Marketplace nowadays, and CGMA, which is a really good learning resource as well. I know a lot of these things are quite pricey. Oh, and the Josh's Mentor Collective, because you got artists on there doing hard surface, environment, stylized, visual effects, loads of stuff. Fantastic. Yeah, these things are pricey, but honestly, considering how much you will pay for university, I'd say these online things are a lot better because they're industry professionals. Yeah. They've got more updated ways of doing things in the industry. So if you can get some pocket money together and do a few of these courses, I'll say it definitely will help push yourself as an artist. But yeah, going back to that very, very big question.
It's just a question I like to ask because it doesn't even necessarily have to. Well, just anything random that maybe you'd like to pick up. Like, it's just mainly just to see if the guest comes up with anything new. Like, there's no pressure. Just do whatever you think goes right.
I think it's important to, though they're a bit old, read some books. Photography books are good for learning about composition and how to frame your artwork. There's a great book on lighting. Let me grab that. I forget what it's called.
That's okay. I'll sing everybody a song but, as you get it. Do 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 do.
I know it's on my wish list.
Like, it's just
I have read it when I was in university.
I'm trying to think which one it is. Does it have a red
visual artist?
Oh, maybe I've not heard
it's it. Literally just got a white ball on it.
Wait, what's it called again? Sorry, say it one more time.
I sent it to you on the old Skype, so you can use that for whatnot to share. That was a really good book. I learned quite a bit about lighting from that.
Light of visual artists.
Yeah. And when I was talking to one time an artist called Bradford Smith who works at Epic Games, like I was telling him how could I improve myself as a material artist? Does he have any like feedback he could give me? And he was saying like these things like read books on photography to know about composition. I've read that lighting book and he recommended that as well. And a bunch of other things, like even though they're really old, like the old Maya books you can grab, you can read through some of those. If you go to university, a lot of your libraries will have these, and they're super old and so outdated, but they are still quite good in the aspect of you can pick up workflows still from that, and you can just obviously push it to something more new. I think it's just just more
reading.
Yeah, read, watch video tutorials, talk with other artists. Discord, I would say, is a really big one nowadays because you can just get feedback straight away, rather than posting on a forum and being like, well, I guess I'll wait for a few hours till someone actually sees it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, we're in an industry time now that everyone like wants feedback so quickly. Like, it's almost like a dopamine. Is it dopamine? Not dopamine rush.
Yeah, I could use that. I mean, that's pretty much what the problem was with ArtStation not long ago. With the whole people were complaining that they weren't getting in the trending, but because they weren't getting those likes or follows, it just became very toxic in that aspect. And I remember a load of times that people would be like comparing follow counts and like counts, and to me that just seem unnecessary, because it's not really about follows and likes. Like, you can make some really, really stunning art,
Yeah.
and you barely get any likes, and it's not because you're rubbish. It's just because no one was probably around at that time. They didn't see it, or maybe they don't even have an account to like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about making yourself better as an artist, and I think a lot of the social media has ruined people, especially artists, because people will just make stuff, post it, and be like, "Hey, like this, please,
Yeah.
and follow me." Yeah, it's just like, that doesn't validate anything. As long as you're improving yourself, that should be good enough validation.
Exactly.
I don't really share anything I do now.
Right.
I've kind of got to the point where it's like, it doesn't. I'll share some of my art, but I'm not too bothered really about it. It's more just, I've done a bunch of substances I've not shared, and it's more just, I've done it for myself to learn other workflows.
Yeah. No, like, I'm really happy you brought that up, because I think it's a lot of people have generated like an unhealthy mindset through the whole concept of likes and follows. Like, at the end of the day, like, you nailed it right there. Like, you should be enjoying the art. You shouldn't, like, for example, I was saying in the at the end of a podcast. It wasn't in the podcast, it was after the podcast. So one of the main things I always like to say when it comes to art is that, like, for example, time with me. Like, to me personally, time isn't important, in the sense that, like, everyone always thinks that they have to rush art out or rush things out just to get people to notice things. Whereas I don't think art like that. Like, I always purely focus about, like, pleasure and enjoying the art. And too many people, I think, have been caught in this loop of exactly like you said, of, oh, I need to create a following, create a social media platform and stuff. Like, I understand that helps get jobs and stuff, or it helps get yourself noticed, which is important. Like, at the end of the day, you need to live, you need to have money and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's not the correct mindset, and I hope people start realizing that it should just purely be about making good art. Like, it's,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, like, obviously, like I really hope people, like, acknowledge that, because like you said something really crucial there. Like, there's tons of artists there that out there right now who probably have a really small following, and they're like way better than, like, tons of maybe really big artists, if you know what I mean.
And I've seen a lot of these really good artists just get really depressed and stuff, because no one's liking their work, or they've noticed that they haven't got enough likes compared to this other person who's maybe done a bit more less decent work, or something that's a bit more mediocre in comparison to them.
Yeah.
But then they get depressed and they think they're wrong, they're not good enough. That's not the case. It's just the way the social media has kind of wired everyone to think that is what matters, when it doesn't. It's more about just bettering yourself as an artist and enjoying, and yeah, stuff like that. Because I'm guilty of being that. When I started off doing my material art and stuff, I used to, when I got a material and I've uploaded it to ArtStation, I'll share it on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all the groups on Facebook. I don't share them really that much on the groups of Facebook anymore. I just share it on probably, I don't even know if I share it on Twitter anymore. It's probably just LinkedIn, even though no one really goes on there anymore. Yeah, so, and then I made a Facebook fan page as well, and it was like, oh, come like my fan page if you like my work and stuff. And
I know what you mean.
I have not posted in that in such a long time.
You're behind the times. No, I understand. I'm really glad that we've kind of really went into depth about that, because still, like, I know everyone who's listening in right now, they're like they have an art piece of, like, oh, why am I not getting likes and stuff? Like, they're stressing about it. You should just chill, enjoy it, make the most of it. We've said it throughout the whole podcast. At the end of the day, the art is the focus point. That's the main reason why you do art. No, but this has been an awesome podcast. Thank you so much, by the way, for coming on. It really means a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Is there anything else you'd like to bring up before we finish? Or are you all good?
make sure to follow Cloud Colony Games.
Right, everyone, you heard it. All 1,700 of you. You see the Twitter handle right now? It's on the screen. Are you following it? You better go follow it. Make the most of it. And like Kyle said earlier, it's he's starting out his company and stuff with his partner and other colleague. So like I said, and like for example, the main reason I do this podcast is for not only just the guests, but also like you guys, the artists. It's all about helping each other, working as a team, and obviously most importantly sharing your artwork and stuff and getting involved. If you enjoyed today's video, by the way, please make sure to leave a like. If you have any constructive criticism or questions that you want me to answer for you guys, or even Kyle, put in the comments below on YouTube. Unfortunately, I can't do it on the other 9 platforms because I don't even know if it's possible. We'll see. We'll see how things progress. But once again, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to select the notification bell to be notified every single week for when the podcast is live. So thanks once again, folks, and we will see you in the next video. Bye for now.